Good afternoon, students. Welcome to this session that is brought to you by Ipmat by LPT. Guys, we are actually running a series which is known as Concept Booster Series. And what we basically do with these series is we pick up concepts from across the sections that is important for your Ipmat preparation, and we try to understand the concept in a easy manner. Now, what we are going to do today is we are going to pick up two concepts of grammar, because I believe that grammar has a lot of weightage in terms of your entrance examinations, which will talk about BBA entrance examinations. So make sure that you are familiarizing yourself with these concepts, and you also make sure that you understand these concepts. Now, the concepts that we are going to discuss for today is actually nouns and pronouns. While I believe that you automatically would be having a idea in terms of what nouns are and what pronouns are, but still there are certain important information that you should be understanding as far as dealing with the questions for your BBA entrance examinations are concerned. So when you talk about understanding nouns and pronouns per se, just understand there would be some information which would be known to you, but you're also going to learn something extra, because when it comes down to solving grammar questions in these examinations, you need to know that exact knowledge which will help you to understand and answer the questions that is asked to you. So let us not waste any more time. Let us get started and try to understand what these concepts are and what are the essential details that you should be knowing in order to understand and solve the questions of nouns and pronouns. So let's get started. We are going to understand these two concepts, so noun and pronoun, in a very easy manner. I could have taken complicated examples, but I did not do that. The reason being, I want to ensure that each one of you who is watching this video understands the very idea of these two concepts as to what is noun and what is pronoun in a very simplified manner. And then when you talk about the practice sessions where we will be discussing the rules of nouns and pronouns, there we will be taking up those questions which would be of a similar difficulty level as to what you see in your examination. So let us get started. So understanding nouns and pronouns the easy way. Right. So let us understand what nouns are and what are the details that you should be absolutely knowing as far as dealing with the questions of grammar is concerned. So it says understanding nouns. Fine. So it says what is a noun? Now, a simple definition of noun, it is what? A noun is simply a naming word. So if I were to give you the simplest possible definition of what noun is, you simply say that it's a naming word. Now, when you talk about what does it name? So it says what? It names, a noun names person, place, animal, thing. I'm sure you all understand this because you have grown learning these definitions by yourself, which is noun is a name of a person, place, animal or thing. But what you have not paid attention to is that it is also an idea or a quality. Alright, and this is exactly where your understanding of nouns has to take a deeper seat, because when you say nouns per se, it is not just a name of a person, place, animal or thing, but it is also idea or concept, right? And essentially speaking, when you talk about 90% of your questions that come in the grammar section, there is all about understanding this aspect, which is noun is not just a name of a person, place, animal or thing, but it also talks about idea or concept. So to your definition of nouns, just understand one thing: person, place, animal, thing is known by everybody. What everybody does not understand is in terms of it is also an idea or a concept. So just keep this in mind. Now, examples of a noun, I'm sure you already have some things clear in your head, but let us also understand what are the examples. So as far as person is concerned, you have teacher, mother, Sneha. So let's say you have a name of a person or a specific person as per your understanding. So that is person. Place, you can have school, park, India. For animal, you can have dog, cow, cat. For a thing, you can have book, chair, phone. Now, what is important to understand is when do you understand idea and quality. So when you say love, okay, so love is a feeling, it's an emotion. So it's a feeling, it's an emotion, it's an idea or a concept. So this is also a noun. Similarly, when you say honesty, तो ये जो honesty word है, ये एक idea है, ये concept है, this is also a noun. Freedom again is a emotion, it's a quality, that is also a noun. So it is here that you have to pay attention to, because most of your grammar questions are centered around the idea or concept. So if you get this understanding clear in your head, I'm sure that when you solve the questions of nouns, you would have a better understanding of the questions. Now let's move further. Now this is important because जब हम rules को discuss करेंगे in our forthcoming sessions, तो जब हम रूल्स को फिगर आउट करेंगे कि आप इसको कैसे यूज करते हो, तो आपको ये आइडिया होना चाहिए दैट व्हाट एग्जैक्टली आर द टाइप्स ऑफ नाउन दैट यू डील विद. तो बहुत डेप्थ में हमें नहीं जाना है, लेट अस ओनली अंडरस्टैंड what is essential for us to know so that we can answer the questions in the examination. The first category when you talk about types of nouns is a proper noun. Now what exactly is a proper noun? Proper noun is a name of a specific person, fine, or place for that matter. Special names always start with capital letter. Just understand one thing. If you understand what exactly is a proper noun and you are able to identify it, one striking quality of these nouns is that they have to start with a capital letter. So if you say I live in Delhi, you cannot write Delhi like this because you have used a small letter there, which is D. So when you talk about proper nouns, which is a name of a specific person, place or an idea, on that particular count you have to capitalize this word and say I live in Delhi. So proper nouns have to be capitalized, okay. Special names always start with a capital letter. Example, Delhi, Amitabh Bachchan, Google. So when you talk about these three words that I've just mentioned, this is an example of proper nouns because it refers to one specific idea. Alright, so you have Delhi as a place, you have Amitabh Bachchan as an actor, and you have Google as a company. So that is called proper noun. Second thing, you talk about common nouns, which is general names. So a city is an example of a common noun. So city could be anything out of the entire country. All right. So that becomes again a common noun. But when you say Delhi specifically, so Delhi becomes proper and city becomes common. Similarly, when you say actor, actor could be any person. But when you specifically name Amitabh Bachchan, so that also becomes specific. So this becomes proper, this becomes common. And similarly, when you talk about company, you can have as many companies as possible which have got its name. But when you simply say Google, so Google becomes a proper noun, whereas company becomes a common noun. So remember the difference between common nouns and proper nouns, and I'm sure you will understand how do you deal with these question types. Now, there is something called concrete nouns. What exactly is a concrete noun? It is something, things you can see, touch, hear, taste or smell. Something which is not very important, but you should have an idea. So in case there is a question that is based on the idea of concrete noun, you know how to handle it. So when you say apple, dog, table, these are examples of concrete noun because it can be perceived through your senses. Then you have something important coming up here, which is abstract noun. Guys, from the perspective of grammar, understand out of these types of noun, proper nouns are important. Similarly, abstract nouns are also important. Now, what exactly an abstract noun? Ideas or feelings you cannot touch. So, when you say happiness, happiness is what? Again, it's a concept. It is an idea. So, this becomes a abstract noun. Similarly, courage and beauty. So, something that cannot be, felt through your senses. You cannot see them, you cannot touch them, you cannot feel them, right? So that is called abstract noun. Most of the time it is feelings, emotions and qualities that form a part of abstract noun. Then a similar kind of a classification is on the basis of countable and uncountable. Things that you can count are simply countable, things that you cannot count are uncountable. Simple examples would be 1 pen and 3 pens. So this is countable. You talk about mobile phone and mobile phone. So mobile phone is singular, mobile phones is plural. So it can be counted 1, 2, 3 and 4. So something that can be counted becomes a countable noun. And when you talk about something which is uncountable, for example, water. You can count glasses of water, but you cannot count water per se. Similarly, you can talk about cans of milk or bottles of milk, but you cannot count milk per se. And similarly, you can count packets of sugar, but you cannot count sugar by itself. So remember, there is something called countable nouns and uncountable nouns, and this is important differentiation, because when you deal with rules of noun, you have to understand what is countable and what is uncountable. Then this is important, which is known as collective nouns, because collective nouns ke usage pe there is a very important rule that gets asked in the competitive examination. Now what exactly is a collective noun? It is words for group. So हम जब किसी ग्रुप को नेम कर रहे होते हैं उसको हम बोलते हैं collective noun. Just remember one thing, collective noun is nothing but name of a group. So for example, when you say team, team is a group of players, all right. Now family is a group of members, flock is a group of sheep. So when you talk about group of something, that is where you have these collective nouns. And the last one is compound nouns. Now what exactly is a compound noun? You have two or more words joined to form a noun. For example, जब आप दो words को club करते हो, so you say toothpaste, so you have tooth and paste, it is clubbed into one word. Then you have bus stop, you have swimming pool, alright. So when you combine two words together and form a noun by itself, that is known as compound nouns. Guys, understand one thing. Your understanding of types of nouns is important, because when we will be having sessions of rules and the questions, तो ये जो बेसिक्स अभी हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं ये आपको इसकी ज़रूरत पड़ेगी. एंड आई एम जस्ट मेकिंग इट श्योर कि ये जो बेसिक आइडिया है नाउन का लेके या प्रोनाउंस का लेके, विच इज़ एसेंशियल फॉर योर व्हाट योर effort to solve a question is again important there. So make sure ये जो basic चीज़ें हम discuss कर रहे हैं, these are clear to you. So I'm sure you have understood proper nouns, common nouns, concrete nouns, abstract nouns, countable, uncountable, collective and compound nouns. This is something you should know, because these are the essential elements of nouns as far as the understanding of nouns is concerned. Now, how does noun work? So noun जब हम use कर रहे होते हैं sentences में, how does it work? So nouns can do different jobs. It can take different positions. For example, it can be the subject of the sentence. So when you say subject of the sentence, for example, when you say the dog barked, this becomes the subject of the sentence because we are talking about dog. Conversely, we can also say the action of barking is done by the dog here, so dog becomes the subject of the sentence. Now you can also use a noun as an object. For example, she loves music. So when you say music, this is functioning not as the subject of the sentence, but it is functioning as the object of the sentence. So she is the subject here, okay, loves, and music becomes the object. Alright, now you can also use noun as an object of a preposition. For example, you can say they live in the city. So when you say in the city becomes a prepositional phrase because you have in over here. So it is acting as an object of a preposition, which is city. Sometimes you can also use it as a positive, which is you say my friend Ria is a doctor. So when you are giving additional information to something, even that becomes a kind of noun. So just remember, out of these four uses, it is the subject and the object which is the most important understanding of your nouns is concerned. So make sure you understand that. Then we talk about quick tips to remember when you talk about using the nouns per se. First thing, proper nouns are always capitalized. So whenever you are making use of a proper noun, I just explained what is a proper noun. So name of a specific person, city, country, author, these are all your proper nouns, and proper nouns कि जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वालिटी है वो ये है कि आपको उसका जो फर्स्ट लेटर है वो हमेशा कैपिटलाइज करना होता है. So if you are writing your name, you have, because you refer to a specific individual, so you have to always capitalize the first letter of your name. All right. Abstract nouns usually come from feelings, qualities or actions. I told you abstract nouns को generally हम अपने senses के through perceive नहीं कर सकते, इसलिए उसको abstract बोला जाता है. हालांकि there are some exceptions to this, but most of the time abstract nouns are nouns which cannot be perceived through your senses. So when you simply say happiness, okay, so happiness is a feeling, it's an emotion that you cannot see, that you cannot touch, that you cannot hear. So you cannot perceive it through your senses, right? So remember this. Then again, some nouns are tricky. For example, advice, furniture, information, they are uncountable. So there are certain nouns which are countable and there are certain nouns which is uncountable. So you have to just keep in mind what talks about the being countable and what talks about being uncountable. Then collective nouns can be singular or plural depending on their meaning. So जब हम collective nouns को use करते हैं, you can use it in a singular manner or you can use it in a plural sense. Depend करता है कि उसको use कैसे किया गया है. For example, एक छोटा सा preview. The team is winning. So when you say the team is winning, team is acting as one single unit. It is acting as one component. All right. So you say team is winning. On the other hand, you say the teams are arguing. It should be teams are arguing, because when you talk about the fact that there is argument going on, so it is not functioning as one single unit, it is functioning as an individual, and that is why you say it is plural. So depending whether you are using collective noun as a singular or you are using it as a plural, you will have to adjust your sentence there. Now, in short, the basic understanding of what nouns is, just remember one thing: a noun is a name. If you can put a name on it, it is a noun. So noun, again, name of a person, place, animal, thing, plus idea or concept. Guys, remember one thing: most of your questions would come from the fact that noun is not just a name of a person, place, animal or thing, but it is also idea or concept. So just remember one thing: ideas and concepts also belong to the category of nouns. If you have any confusion with the concepts that we have discussed so far, just let me know through the comment section and I will be happy to help. But just understand you are watching this video from the beginning till the end so that you understand all the details that we have discussed with respect to nouns and pronouns. Now we are done with noun. Let's go to pronouns. Pronouns are basically words that is used in place of a noun. So once you understand what nouns are, then it is not difficult to understand what pronouns are. So a pronoun is a word used in place of a noun to avoid repetition and to make sentences smoother. So when you talk about pronouns per se, pronouns are used in place of a noun. Now, what exactly the statement is without pronouns? If you don't use pronoun, you say Ria said that Ria will go to the market because Ria needs vegetables. So when you talk about this word Ria, it is a noun, okay? And if I'm not making use of a pronoun here, so this is how my sentence will look like. Ria said that Ria will go to the market because Ria needs vegetables. You can't keep repeating the same noun over and over again. So you have to make use of a pronoun to make your sentence smoother. And you say with pronoun, how will you construct the sentence? You say Ria said that she will go to the market because she needs vegetables. So instead of using Ria as a noun again and again in my sentences, I have simply replaced it with a pronoun which is she. So you say Ria said that she will go to the market because she needs vegetables. So we just have to avoid making use of noun again and again, and that is where you have to understand the entire concept of pronoun comes into the picture. So just remember one thing: a pronoun is nothing but it's a word that is used in place of a noun. Now, what you should understand here is that there are categories of pronouns. So, you don't really have to understand the types of pronouns as such. But what I tell students is that just understand you are able to identify the pronoun if you spot it in the sentence. So, what is that we are looking for? The first and the most important categories is personal pronouns. So, stand for the specific persons or things. हम सब्जेक्टिव केस में यूज करते हैं, हम ऑब्जेक्टिव केस में यूज करते हैं. तो इफ इट इज एक्टिंग एज द सब्जेक्ट यू हैव आई, वी, यू, ही, शी, इट एंड दे. तो ये जो फॉर्म्स ऑफ प्रोनाउंस हैं इसको हम तब यूज करते हैं जब हम सेंटेंस में सब्जेक्ट के सेंस में बात कर रहे हैं. देन यू हैव गॉट ऑब्जेक्टिव केस. सो इट इज मी, अस, यू, हिम, हर, इट. तो ये वाले जो प्रोनाउंस है दीज आर यूज एज द ऑब्जेक्ट्स इन द सेंटेंस. तो उसको बोला जाता है ऑब्जेक्टिव प्रोनाउन. पॉसेसिव केस के लिए यू हैव माई एंड माइन, आवर एंड आवर्स, योर एंड योर्स, हिज, her, hers and its, their and theirs. So it's not that you have to by heart these things because most of these things would be already known to you, but just understand one thing: when you are using a pronoun you can use it in three ways, especially the personal pronouns. You can use it as a subjective case, as an objective case or as a possessive case. You will have a better understanding of these pronouns when you deal with the rules and the questions, but for the time being just understand when you have these words you have a clear cut idea that these belong to the categories of pronouns. Now, so we talked about personal pronouns, that was the category A. Then you have reflexive and emphatic pronouns. It's not that somebody is going to ask you what reflexive is or what emphatic is, but just understand you are able to identify the type of pronoun there. So reflexive जब हम use करते हैं, how do we say it? I hurt myself, right? So when you add self or selves to a pronoun, then it becomes reflexive or it becomes emphatic pronoun. So when you say I hurt myself, the action is reflecting back, and because the action is reflecting back, it is known as a reflexive pronoun. On the other hand, look at this sentence. It says I myself completed the work. So when you say I myself completed the work, here you are making use of emphasis in the sentence. So this becomes emphatic pronouns. Overall, just understand one thing, that when you add self and selves to a pronoun, it becomes reflexive or it becomes emphatic. Now, demonstrative pronouns. So this is just a name. So you have this and that, these and those. डिफरेंस क्या है दिस और दैट में? पहली चीज तो ये कि दिस और दैट सिंगुलर है, प्लस दीज एंड दोस आर प्लूरल. ओके, सो दिस इज सिंगुलर, दिस इज प्लूरल. तो यू से दिस इज माय बुक. आप बुक के लिए यूज कर रहे हो तो आपने यहाँ पे दिस यूज किया. दोस आर योर्स. तो आप जब प्लूरल यूज कर रहे हो तब आपको यूज करना है THOSE, विच इज प्लूरल. So this, that, these, those are also pronouns. Then you talk about relative pronouns. Relative pronouns क्या होते हैं? जो करेक्ट कर रहे होते हैं clauses को. So you have who, whom, whose, which and that. So these are called relative pronouns. For example, the teacher who taught me is here. So when you talk about these pronouns and the different categories, just remember, even though if you don't know the exact nature of what type of pronoun it is, just understand when you happen to use it in a sentence, you are able to identify that this is how a pronoun has been used here. So when you say this is the topic that I wanted to discuss, this that also becomes a case of relative pronoun. Now, interrogative pronouns. Now, as the name suggests, it says interrogative pronouns. So something that asks questions. तो जब हम क्वेश्चंस के बारे में बात कर रहे होते हैं, द वर्ड्स दैट आइडेंटिफाई द क्वेश्चंस, दैट इज आल्सो नोन एज इंट्रोगेटिव प्रोनाउंस. तो हु, whom, whose, which and what. फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैंने बोला who is coming. Who is not a noun here, but it is functioning as a pronoun. So you say who is coming. So who becomes what? It becomes interrogative pronouns. Then you have indefinite pronouns. So in the sense that it is non-specific persons and things. So you have someone, anyone, everyone, none, all, each, either, neither, few. many, several and something. तो जो definite नहीं है, something which is not definite becomes an indefinite pronoun. Even if you don't know the categorization of types of noun, just understand one thing. If you have got a sentence where these pronouns are used, make sure you are able to identify that it's a pronoun, because I have seen students that they do have an idea as to what pronoun is, but when it comes down to solving the question, they are not able to clearly understand the role it plays there. And of course, the last set, which is distributive pronouns, refers to one at a time. For example, each, either, neither. So when you say each of the players performed well, this each is functioning as a distributive pronoun. And the last one, of course, is reciprocal pronouns. Now, this is important because there is a very important rule that is based on the concept of reciprocal nouns. So, when you say show mutual action, each other and one another. I'm not telling you exactly the rule as of now, because this is not aimed at understanding the rules per se, but just understand when you say reciprocal pronouns, the action is mutual here. So you say each other and one another. The rule related to this particular pronoun will be discussed later in those sessions where we discuss the rules of pronouns. For the time being, just understand each other is a reciprocal pronoun, one another. So you say the two friends help each other. So this each other also is a pronoun that is used in your sentence. And that's the end about it. So when you talk about these nouns and pronouns, for those of you who have joined me now, just understand one thing. Watch this video from the beginning to end so that you are very clear with the concepts of nouns plus the pronouns. We are not discussing the rules as of now, so there will be some sessions that will be dedicated to the understanding of rules and solving the questions of grammar. The objective of this session is simply to just understand that there are certain concepts of grammar that you should know, and essentially that is what we are doing here. So make sure that you watch the video completely and you have a clearer idea as to what nouns are and what pronouns are. Later on, we will be discussing with the rules of nouns and pronouns, and also we will discuss how do you practice questions on the basis of the rules that nouns and pronouns uses. So that was all from my side, guys. Keep learning, keep working harder, because of course you have your examination lined up next year, but just make sure that you're working on your fundamentals. So of course grammar plays a crucial part in your overall preparation. So before you move to the solving of questions of grammar, you need to understand the concepts of grammar. So if you are watching all of these videos, just follow them. We are done with modifiers, subject verb agreement, parallelism, nouns, pronouns. We are also done with verbs and tenses. So make sure that you watch those videos and you get a better understanding of these concepts, so that these understanding can be used for you to answer and solve the questions. So that's all from my side, students. See you in the next live stream. Bye bye. Take care. Goodbye.